Tobogo, my people of Mzansi, can you believe this one? A so-called businessman and confidential source appears at the Madlanga Commission carrying 64 to 65,000 rand in cash on the very day of that massive Aeroton drug bust. He claims it was for travel expenses and to stay discreet, but when they put his own FNB bank statements in front of him, toll gates, fuel purchases, all paid with his card. My lovely people, the stories start changing left, right and center. Commissioners Baloy and Advocate Musigi were not playing games, they tore straight through it. Listen carefully, this is where it gets hot. Tobogo, roll the footage.
Remember when Chair asked me earlier on to say how many law enforcement officers had you been giving information to? See, that assertion would have been correct if I'd been giving information to many law enforcement officers. But my information dispersal had been limited to mostly Chief Mashaba. So if there is a talk of law enforcement who have not been reliable in terms of upholding the information given, it would be limited to him. So to say that I've been given information elsewhere and people have been unreliable, that means the person is talking about himself. And for me, it wouldn't make sense.
I think the more you answer, the more you confuse yourself and confuse us. Just going back to that paragraph that you were dealing with, I just need clarity on two issues. During your exchange with Commissioner Baloyi, you then considered that you were not expecting to get paid, at least on this operation, or be rewarded. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
And that is still your version? That you did not expect to be rewarded on this particular...
Precisely on that operation. Sorry, Advocate Msikidi,
I'm saying it is still your version that you did not expect to get rewarded at this Aeroton operation.
Yes, at that juncture, I wasn't expecting an immediate reward here.
Yes, and in fact, you said when you were engaging with Advocate Baloyi that you were still trying to establish yourself to get to some point, maybe in future, that you might get rewarded. Do you remember that?
Precisely.
Yes. Now, what I don't understand is that while you are there trying to make your way to maybe to build some profile to be paid as you would expect to get paid at some point, it doesn't make sense that what the facts point to us is that you have 60,000 rand with you. You first say that it was for traveling costs, but for now, what worries me is when you say, and that acquiring, so when you were asked about why do you have this money, and you said, part of the reason why you have it is that it's for, well, acquiring technical intel almost comes at a cost. Now, it doesn't make sense to me, and it's hopelessly contradictory for you to say you expected to build a profile to get paid, whereas at the same time you seem to be mentioning that part of the money you had, or that money you had, part of it, you were willing to spend it as part of collecting intel. Do you wish to comment?
Indeed, Advocate Msikidi, the money wasn't solely, or wasn't for the operation. Was money at my disposal, and relative to that. I am not an ordinary would-be informant, or someone who's trying hard to fight his way into subs. So for me, one is always willing to leverage resources to meet a certain objective, albeit it may be long term. But at that point in time, these are resources at one's disposal at that point in time. So I because I've spent money risking marketing and whatnot. So I guess because it wasn't a substantial fee that I would think of in terms of acquiring information. I didn't deem it significant.
Just a moment, Mr. Msikiti. Mr. Nku, please in your answers try to be clear, because you've given an answer and I have no idea what you just said. So you're saying too many things that are unrelated to what we are talking about. So this 60,000 that you had on the day, when you withdrew it from wherever you withdrew it, what was it for?
So the money was was petty cash, which I used for my traveling activities.
On the day in question,
no,
you didn't have any traveling activities. You were going to Yellow Jersey and then Aeroton. So I want you to be specific. You withdrew 60,000 rands, or you took it from somewhere. As you were taking it and putting it in your car, what were you going to use it for?
Commissioner Tumelo, the 60,000 that I had, I didn't take it consciously and put it in the car to just travel. It's money that I had with. I don't know if I make sense.
I want to understand something. You referred to petty cash. Is the petty cash the 60,000 rand, or is the petty cash something else?
The 60,000 rands.
Petty cash 60,000 rand for an individual.
No, not for an individual. That was not my money.
I say individual as in Mr. Nku. Mr. Nku, who is an individual, he calls 60,000 rand petty cash.
No, Chair. It was petty cash for the company. It was not my money. I was trying to say that.
Or petty cash for the company.
For the companies. So I would say I used company funds.
Then you must have a huge company.
So
please finish your answer to
yes. Yes,
Chair. So when one says petty cash, the company extended to multiple trucks and we had a whole supply chain operation. So keeping cash, not all filling stations and whatnot where one uses cards. Some you would use cash to once all the trucks have passed. So I would say one took advantage of that.
I was interested in your use of petty cash. I intervened whilst Commissioner Tumelo was asking you questions. And of course, some of the questions I had prepared, it seems you are anticipating already, because I seriously want to engage you on this thing about carrying cash at this day and age. Anyway.
Ms. Nku, for now, because we will get to that later. Are you saying this 60,000 rands is always in the car?
It is not. Always in the car,
Yes.
Commissioner Khumalo. However, given the purchases that one needed to or payments that one needed to make, at that point in time, I took advantage of the money being at my disposal.
Asking you. You're still not getting to what I'm asking you. Because that money, 60,000 rands, is not always in the car. At some point that day or the day before, you must have taken it somewhere in the safe at the company, or you withdrew it from the bank, and you took it with you and you put it in the car. I'm asking you specifically about during that period, what was your plan with it? Because you cannot say in general terms, filling stations, some of them don't take cash, therefore this and that. You run a truck business, therefore this and this. Unless you say to me, you were following a truck that day and you knew that that truck would require money to be used either for diesel or something else, and you took that money for that purpose. So I'm trying to understand, when you withdrew that money or you took it from a safe, what was your plan with it? What were you going to do with it? And I'm only limiting myself to that because you had chair. He still has other questions about that money.
Okay. Commissioner Balui,
Kumal.
Oh, sorry. Apologies, Commissioner Balui. Commissioner Khumalo, when I took possession of the 60,000 or the money, hence I said that I took advantage of the fact that it was at one's disposal. However, I utilized the funds for traveling because one, I did not know how long one would stay in the vicinity of Durban. And going there is not limited to following up on information relating to that a truck. One obviously had other business interests in infrastructural development and so forth. But it was solely on the basis that I wasn't sure how long the trip will take. But I thought it would be best to travel discreetly.
I must say, you still have not enlightened me, but for now I will leave it there and accept that it's pocket money that you took with you for your trip to Durban and back, and you didn't know how much you would need for your trip. Have I summarized it correctly?
It was cost for the trip.
Yes, for you specifically. You were not going to pay suppliers for the company or anything like that. It was money that you specifically were going to use for your trip to Durban.
Not necessarily, Commissioner Khumalo. It's money that, hence I say, I took advantage of. But when I need to make payments to suppliers and whatnot, it would be easy for me to do it wherever I am.
To pay them in cash, in 200 rand notes?
No, to make deposits.
Oh.
Not to pay in cash, to make deposits.
So you take cash to then make deposits. It does not make sense to me, not at this day and age. Why not make an EFT?
Well, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the business that one was running, we had a lot of clients paying in cash. That's why there would be cash.
Paying you in cash?
they would be paying the company in cash.
But that still doesn't answer the question. What you do once you get lots and lots of cash is to deposit the money and then to make electronic fund transfers. That's what makes practical sense, Mr. Nku. I may not have a business, but at least that I understand.
I fully concur, Chair. Hence, I have been expressing that one took advantage of the cash at one's disposal.
That still does not make sense. It still does not make sense. I mean, why not deposit the money? You left for Durban on the 7th, is that correct? Is that correct?
I'm trying to...
We have texts here, and I think the chats support what I'm saying. You left for Durban on the 7th, is that correct?
I think that would be a fair assertion.
And you were in Durban on the 8th, correct?
Yes, Chair.
And you came back from Durban, I think after roughly having been there for the day. Then you came back on the 8th, correct?
I came back on the 8th.
And you were here by early morning, which is the time you met Chief Mashaba and Warrant Officer Mohanu, correct?
Correct.
So are you saying you carried cash from Johannesburg to Durban and then back to Johannesburg with it? Is that what you are saying?
True, that, Chair.
Sorry?
That's true, Chair.
That's true.
Yes.
And was it 60,000 rand when you took it, or was it more, with you having used part of it perhaps along the way to Durban, in Durban, and back from Durban?
Yes, it was slightly...
Sorry. Had you taken 60,000 rand when you initially took it from wherever in Johannesburg, did you take 60,000 rand?
No, it wasn't 60,000.
You took more?
Yes, it was more, Chair.
How much was it?
I think it would have been about 65,000.
And the 4 or 5, what did you use it for?
So I booked in I slept overnight on the 7th.
And
no.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just.
Yes.
Yeah, but I had booked and slept overnight.
You use it to pay at hotel or whatever.
Yes, Chair.
Sorry, let's not speak it. Or whatever accommodation facility. So you use the money for that.
Yes.
Anything else?
No. On the way, I paid for the tolls and
now,
petrol.
When you left Johannesburg, taking the 64 or 65,000 rand, what transactions did you expect to make along the way or in Durban, other than accommodation and tolls? What transactions were you expecting to make?
I wouldn't have expected to make transactions, but other than have a safety buffer of having money.
So without expecting to make any transactions whatsoever, you take a whole 64 or 65,000 rand cash with you in your car. Is that what you are telling us?
Chair,
you are not expecting any transaction whatsoever, leaving aside now the hotel and tolls. You are expecting no other transaction whatsoever. You take a whole 64 or 65,000 rand cash, underlying cash. Yes.
Okay. Chair, I did not know how long I'll stay.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not an issue of transactions, but I did not know how long I would have stayed in Durban.
So what did you expect might happen, which necessitated that you should carry 64,000 or 65,000 rand in cash?
Maybe my stay would have been longer.
I'm talking about what transactions would have been necessary or made necessary by a longer stay.
Chair, to consider that
Maybe an additional day at a hotel, perhaps that?
maybe 3-4 days. Apologies, Chair.
So an additional 2 or 3 days at a hotel, perhaps?
But that would have been possible, Chair.
And why could you not have paid for that using your bank cards? Why must you carry 64 or 65,000 rand for that? Why could you not have paid or used your cards to pay for that?
Chair, as I've already stated, that one, I took money that ought to have been deposited.
Yes.
When I took the money, it's not some of the money. It's the sum total of what was to be deposited.
Sorry. That's not answering my question. My question is, you say what could possibly have happened is that your stay could have been more than just 1 day. It could have been 2 or 3 days. My question is, why could you not have used your cards for that?
Tebogo, yo Mzansi, yo. Listen to this man trying to explain why he was driving around with 65,000 rand cash during a major drug operation. First it's travel money, then petty cash, then for discretion so he doesn't leave a trail. My people, which one is it? Now watch what happens when they bring the bank statements. Tolls paid by card, fuel at Shell paid by card, Marion Hill, Mooikloof, all of them on the 7th and 8th of July. It makes it very difficult to believe your story. Hi, you hear that? The commissioners said it themselves. This is the same man who claims he was just helping law enforcement as a source, but he's deep in the mix, following the truck all the way, ending up at the scene with Chief Mashaba. My brothers and sisters, this is not how innocent people behave. This is not how a genuine informant operates. He even concedes, I would concede, cornered properly. These are the people we trust with our safety, moving with bags of cash while drugs worth millions are seized? Absolute chaos in our institutions. The walls are closing in. Keep watching, Mzansi.
So how you source the money and it being the sum total and so on is not answering my question. Why could you not have used your card for that? Your cards, actually, because I've seen several cards in the testimony or the documentation that we have here. You have several cards, bank cards. Please answer my question, not anything else.
Chair, I was coming to that question.
Yes,
that's why I was trying to build a premise.
Yes.
That with the sum total that I had, it's money that I still needed to deposit. Hence, I'm saying I took advantage of that. Because
Tell me,
when I
sorry, so we don't speak at the same time. I'm sorry for interrupting you. What advantage exactly? What advantage were you taking? You say you took advantage of something. What advantage were you taking?
The advantage is that I took money that from customers which I ought to have deposited.
Yes.
So I cannot leave some and take some. That money needs to be deposited. So I traveled with the whole sum total of it. And took advantage of it. Hence I'm saying I should have left the money behind or deposited it.
I'm sorry, please repeat. We spoke at the same time.
I'm saying I should have left the money behind or deposited it. It needed to be deposited. So I just took advantage of it so that whenever, say on that money I would have spent 20,000 or 15,000. Then I would at a later stage have to replace it, but then I need to deposit it.
And do you have people working under you, or did you at the time have people that you could have sent to go deposit the money? I'm sure you had.
I did, Chair.
I don't get this advantage that you are talking about. You could and should have sent people to deposit the money, and then as for yourself, with your Durban trip, you could then have used your cards. This still doesn't make sense to me. I'm yet to come to, okay, let me not anticipate that question because you'll start thinking about it. So that doesn't make sense to me. Why not send people to deposit their money and then you go to Durban and use your cards to pay?
Not everyone had access to my safes.
Sorry?
Not everyone had access to the safe.
I asked you whether you did not have someone you could have sent to go deposit the money, and I thought you said you could, or not?
But I would have had to take the money and give them before I leave.
What stopped you from doing that?
But hence I said, Chair, I took advantage.
No. That's not my question. What stopped you from taking the money out of the safe, giving it to somebody to go and deposit it? What stopped you from doing that?
Nothing stopped me, Chair.
Do you accept that it's very risky to travel with lots and lots of cash?
I accept.
Anybody would accept that.
Accept.
You accept it?
Accept it, Chair.
So make me understand this advantage in the face of the risks attendant to carrying that much cash with you. Make me understand this advantage that you took. Simply doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Nku.
Chair, the advantage relates to me traveling discreetly.
Traveling?
Discreetly.
What on earth does that mean?
Chair, if I, because part of my trip was to acquire information. Traveling discreetly means that along the route, I wouldn't be using my bank cards.
But who had any idea about you going to source the information? Who would have cared about your use of your bank cards anywhere in the country? Who would have cared about that?
Chair, I wouldn't know because...
No.
Mm-hmm.
Your fears, beliefs, etc. must be based on fact. Who would have known about you going to Durban, you going to source whatever information in Durban, and therefore have been concerned about your use of your cards, or been interested in the use of your cards in Durban? Tell me something that's based on fact.
Chair, the people whose information I'm following up on have got relationships with high-ranking officials. Anyone snooping around, it definitely does. There's exposure.
But how many people go to Durban and use their bank cards? How many people?
Granted, Chair, a lot of people do go to Durban and use their bank cards.
Then answer my previous question, because that's why your responses do not make sense.
Chair, I still maintain that when following up on information, my mindset is that be as discreet as possible.
Doesn't make sense to me. I will leave it at that for now.
Can I just make a point? This is important, Mr. Nku, because at a scene of a major drug bust of drugs worth hundreds of millions of rands, when unexplained amounts of cash are found there, questions have to be asked and certain inferences have to be drawn. And you must give us an innocent explanation that explains the presence of that cash there. And the explanation you've given me so far, I speak for myself, not for the chair, does not make sense. And I will leave it there for now.
Okay,
But you understand why these questions are being asked. I know you are legally represented, and to be fair to you, your lawyers would probably have advised you, but this question is being asked in that context, so that you understand.
You see, in fairness to you, I'm not saying this is an inference that we as a commission will draw. We are far from that at this stage. I do not know what in the end we will decide and what inferences we will draw. But at the lowest level of possibilities, some may think you had that much cash to pay out those who had assisted in getting these drugs out of the system and taking them to whatever destination. I'm saying at the lowest. I'm not at all talking probabilities, nor am I even saying that that's an inference that we will draw in the end. So I'm just saying that is why we are questioning you as much as we are doing around carrying this much cash. Something that simply does not make sense and on which you have not given a cogent explanation. That's fine.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, commissioners. I do gather that it is extremely difficult to understand as to why would one travel with such an exuberant amount of cash. Hence, I've been trying to explain that it was as a result of me taking advantage of the cash at the disposal of the company. It might have been that one needed not to travel to KZN. It might have been utilizing cash for any other obligation or need that one had, but one took money that they were not supposed to take. That's what I'm trying to express. That granted, I had people, or I should have had people, to go make the deposits, but because I did not know the need of my travel costs, it might have as well been that I go to Devon and immediately deposit the money, or I go to Devon and deplete all of it, which is, hence I say, which is funds that I shouldn't have taken or I shouldn't have utilized. To that tune, I do concede that wasn't my money to take. I'm not saying it, when I say petty cash, it wasn't my money, Chair. It was money belonging to the company, which I took advantage of because my thought process was, I do not know how much I'll need. Maybe I might need to stay for a week. I'm not going to utilize my bank card. I might as well utilize this and then deposit the rest, because initially in any case, the people who I ended up calling, or the person who I ended up calling on the 8th, wasn't the one who was supposed to have conducted that operation. In fact, it might have been there that I didn't need to go to Durban if the person that I had expected to conduct it had answered me at the time. I solely went there because of not getting any response. I thought we are this far with information, so let me just go and follow it up. But I discovered later on what was the reason.
Perhaps lastly on this, I think I asked you more than once as to what you were going to use the money for, and you said accommodation and tolls. And it could have been more if you stayed longer, maybe 2 or 3 nights, it would have been more. But the items themselves were just accommodation and tolls. And I will be surprised if you were to want to add to that. And in fact, I will probably not believe it, because I asked you more than once and you said just accommodation, initially just the 1 day, and you said possibly I might have stayed longer, therefore 2 or 3 additional nights, and then tolls. So that's the sum total of what you would have used the money for. Now, how much could you possibly ever have had to pay for those items? I don't know, maybe you stay at the most exclusive hotels in South Africa, so, but how much could you possibly ever have had to spend? But at least we do have an idea that you spent around 4,000 and 5,000, so that's sort of a ballpark figure.
For one night, Chair, it was around about less than 5,000 rand, unless I would have stayed at the hotel. That
as I say, we already
all
know
that money in one night.
As I say, we already know that it was around that amount, because you said you took about 64 to 65,000. So all in all, because you were found with 60,000, you had spent 4 or 5,000. So we know that. That's what, yeah. So what would have been additional would have been another 4 plus another 4 if it went up to 3 nights, or 5 plus another 5 if it went up to 3 nights. So why carry 64, 65,000 rand for those 3 nights at the most and tolls?
Chair, I still reiterate and concede to this fact that...
You see, I'm not repeating the questions I asked you. Earlier, I was just querying you on the very idea of carrying 64 or 65,000 rand in general terms. Now I'm being specific as to the expected expenses. So if that was all that was to be spent, why take 64 or 65,000 rand?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Chair, we are talking about the 5,000 after the fact. Going there, at the time I did not know the type of hotel that I'd be accommodated in. There are much more expensive hotels in the area.
That's exactly why I said I don't know the types of hotels you stay in. Please continue.
There are much more expensive hotels in the area. So I wouldn't have limited myself, but it wasn't pre-planned. It was a spur of a moment because cash was at one's disposal. I did not take a subconscious decision of taking the total sum but just taking some, I needed to take all of it, so that I eventually needed to make a deposit.
So you leave Johannesburg not having made a booking or a reservation. You drive all the way to Durban, and even along the way you do not make a reservation. So you'll basically see how much you spend when you arrive in Durban.
Chair, sometimes it's cheaper to do things that way. It gets to be cheaper.
All right, I will, yes.
Mr. Nku, a different aspect or another aspect of this discussion is you had very specific information about these drugs or this consignment. You knew the container number. You knew exactly what you're looking for or what Mashaba and whoever else even this senior official, but you knew what the consignment is supposed to be. So you would have known when that ship left, that vessel left Brazil. I think it's Brazil. I think we've been told that. So you had all of that detail. It's difficult to see a situation where you didn't know how long you would be in Devon because you had all the information. You know how the harbor system works. That's why you were able to talk about certain containers being prioritized, a topic that we said we would come back to. But clearly you know something about the workings at port. But you also have this full detail about this. I can't see how you would not have had an idea how long you're going to be there. In your explanation of why you had that much money, surely you did have an idea how long you could be there. You're going to be there because you have all of this information.
Commissioner Baloyi, I did not have the specifically when one refers to the container number in question. I did not have that up until the very end, if I'm not mistaken. If it's not the 8th, it would be the 7th. It was up until the very end. I did not. I knew that there would be. Okay, my intel was that there would be 11 containers. But obviously, because there are some that would need following up on. Hence, I say one checks which ones are prioritized.
Yes.
For that. That's at that point.
Yes. Forget the container number. You knew the vessel has left Brazil. You knew it's docking. Otherwise, you're going there on the 7th and not on the 2nd or on the 20th of July. Doesn't make sense. So you had enough information to know that it has, and it must be so, that you knew it has left Brazil. You knew it is expected to dock at on a certain date. So you have that kind of information. But your information, in fact, was as specific. Ultimately, information is as specific as there are drugs, and it is so much of it. And I'm saying on a composite of all of that evidence, that which is known, it's difficult to see a situation where you leave Johannesburg on the 7th or wherever you are leaving from on the 7th, and you didn't leave 5 days earlier, you don't leave 5 days later, that you didn't know how long you would spend in Devon. It just defies how things work, the logic of it. Otherwise, you should have left on the 1st of July. Or you should have left on the 20th of July. So you did have an idea how long you're going to be there because you had sufficient information.
Yeah.
You may, sorry.
Yes. Thank you very much, Commissioner Baloyi. I did have information. However, it wasn't sufficiently narrowed down enough. So I wouldn't have known, say for instance, there are 5,000, apologies, there are 5,000 or 2,000 containers that the vessel will be docking with. How long or which ones are prioritized, particularly in the company in question. So my stay there would either be shortened or extended on the basis of the information that I keep receiving. But I did not have conclusive information to warrant me to stay for a day or two, or 3 or 4. The information that I had didn't enable me to take that decision.
Right. Let me raise a second issue about this money issue and payments. I understood you earlier in your evidence to say that part of what you have to do when you gather information is you pay for it. Sometimes you have to pay for it. Did I hear you correctly? And I'm not saying from the 60,000 necessarily. The concept itself that you have to pay sometimes to get information.
It does happen.
It does
yes.
happen, yes. Then my question is, you are not a registered informant. What is your interest to spend your money to pay people to give you information that you then say you give to law enforcement? What's your interest in that? What do you stand to gain to the point that you're prepared to spend your own money to get information?
If I may. I thought I clarified that earlier on, Commissioner Balui. I said that me being a source of information, I'm not restricted to the information that I would be providing. Obviously, over and above that, I'm someone who's in business, and one understands leveraging resources for future returns. Because I was still on this journey of getting remunerated at some point, and the type of information or intel that I'm able to provide, whatever costs in resources that I incur, I'll make up in many folds in the future on the basis of the information that I'm able to provide.
I'm speaking specifically about you spending on intelligence that's about crime fighting or helping law enforcement. So I'm speaking to that specifically. That what do you stand to gain that you spend your money to assist law enforcement? What do you stand to gain there? Don't tell me about your businesses and information that you get that you will leverage for your businesses. I'm not asking that kind of question. I'm asking specifically, you spend money to get information according to you, such as, let's say, this kind of information, where drugs, you get to know there are drugs that are coming in, and you tell Chief Mashaba, let's say. I'm not saying that's what happened here, you spent money that way. But I'm talking about those kind of facts, that what's in it for you, that you, an ordinary member of the public, a successful businessman by account of what we have here, what do you stand to gain? You can answer.
Okay. So maybe one didn't clarify that point. Commissioner Balui, when I'm saying one leveraging one's resources, I mean that Remember, I'm still someone who's in process of, at the later stage, getting remunerated or being uptaken as a source within SAPS or law enforcement agency who would be a paid source. So the costs that one incurs along the way would be remunerated or would be equalized at a much later stage. It's leveraging one's current resources for future gains.
Why do you want to be part of this? I remember I said to you, you're a very successful businessman by all accounts, and we will still get to that. Why do you want to be an informant? And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who's been registered as an informant. That should never be misunderstood. I have absolutely no idea what people get paid for this kind of thing. But it doesn't make sense to me that someone with a kind of profile business-wise, that the impression is created by the evidence that we will still go through, that you would want to be an informant, a registered informant, and that gets paid. What's your interest in that? Why don't you just carry on giving them information as it comes to you? But you are so invested in it that you travel all the way to Durban on this one occasion. You are prepared to stay however number of days. You don't know how long it's going to be. You are prepared to do that. You tell us you are even prepared to pay for that information. There's something that doesn't fit in with that kind of effort and what you will get paid, wanting to be registered as an informant and get paid for someone who doesn't seem to need it. Something doesn't square up. If your interest is to assist law enforcement, you don't need to be registered. You don't need to be paying. When it comes to you, you just pass it on. But you want to be registered as an informant, and then eventually you'll be paid for it. Make it make sense to me.
Tebogo, my people, what we have just witnessed is pure comedy of lies. A witness who cannot keep his story straight about 65,000 Rand cash on the day of one of the biggest drug busts in the country. Bank statements don't lie. Commissioners don't play. This is why South Africans are suffering. This is how the rot continues. Businessmen entangled with police officers, moving cash like it's nothing, while the rest of us struggle. But today, the Madlanga Commission is doing the work, exposing the contradictions, pulling the curtain back. We, the people of Mzansi, deserve better. Our tax money funds these institutions. Our safety depends on them. Enough is enough. If you're tired of the corruption, smash that like button, share this video with every South African you know, and tell Tebogo in the comments, do you believe his story about the cash? These are the things we love to see, the truth coming out. Stay vigilant, Mzansi. The fight continues. J reports, we see you. Peace.